Imagine this. A 12-year-old girl walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom, exuding an attitude that could make any adult squirm. But this isn't just about her. It's about her mother. She's here because her mom, Sarah Martinez, brought her along. At first, it seems like a routine traffic hearing. A simple case, nothing too unusual. But what starts as a mundane courthouse session turns into a powerful lesson for both mother and daughter. Wherever you're watching from, this is a story that resonates across all corners of the world. It's about respect, accountability, and the kind of parenting that shapes a person's future. If you believe that raising children with strong values matters more than raising them with luxury, then you're going to appreciate this tale. It's Wednesday, 2:30 p.m., in the Providence Municipal Court. Judge Frank Caprio is sitting at his bench, reviewing the case files. The docket for the day seems standard. And then, a name is called: Sarah Martinez, a 34-year-old woman cited for 3 unpaid parking tickets and an expired vehicle registration. Nothing here seems out of the ordinary. As the doors swing open, Sarah walks in first. Her tired eyes and slumped shoulders tell the story before she even speaks. She's a nurse, one of the many who spends long hours helping others while her own needs go unmet. Her hair is tied back, her scrubs faded from wear, and every step she takes radiates the exhaustion of a woman juggling multiple jobs to keep things afloat. Following her, walking with a different kind of energy, is her daughter Madison. At only 12, Madison carries herself like a teenager who believes the world revolves around her. She's decked out in designer clothes from head to toe, sneakers that look more at home in a boutique than on a sidewalk, a jacket that screams status, and gold jewelry that gleams under the courtroom lights. But what catches everyone's attention isn't just the clothes, it's the attitude. Madison doesn't look up from her phone as she enters the courtroom, her earbuds firmly in place, as if she's in her own world. She doesn't acknowledge anyone, not even the judge, and certainly not the gallery that turns its eyes to her. Her mother, walking just a few steps behind, steals a glance at her, her face a mix of embarrassment and resignation. It's the kind of look parents give when they've fought the same battles over and over and feel defeated. The gallery, the other people waiting for their own cases, quickly picks up on the strange dynamic. One elderly woman whispers to her companion in disbelief. A middle-aged man shakes his head disapprovingly, and even the court clerk, who is usually immersed in her work, pauses to glance up. There's something off about this picture, something unsettling. Judge Caprio, who's seen it all, notices too. He's been on the bench long enough to understand the story behind the surface. A mother, exhausted, barely making ends meet, and a daughter, dripping in luxury, completely disconnected from the struggles happening right next to her. Caprio clears his throat and addresses the room. "Miss Martinez, please approach the bench." Sarah moves forward, but before she can even speak, her daughter interrupts. "Can we hurry this up? I've got plans," Madison says, her voice loud enough to cut through the silence of the courtroom. She hasn't even bothered to look up from her phone. Sarah, clearly embarrassed, whispers sharply, "Madison, not now." Judge Caprio's expression remains neutral, but there's a slight shift in his posture. He leans forward, folding his hands on the bench in front of him, and speaks with a quiet but firm tone. "Young lady, I am speaking with your mother. Please wait quietly." It's a simple request, but Madison doesn't heed it. She rolls her eyes and lets out a loud, exaggerated sigh, clearly signaling her irritation. Her body language is all defiance, and it doesn't go unnoticed. The gallery responds immediately, their disapproval palpable in the hushed whispers and exchanged glances. Even the bailiff raises his eyebrows, clearly taken aback by the level of disrespect coming from such a young person. Judge Caprio watches it all, his gaze moving between Madison and the people around him. He's been doing this long enough to recognize when a situation needs to be addressed before it escalates. This is just the beginning of the story. Madison's behavior is about to spark a confrontation that will change everything, not just for her, but for her mother as well. Stay tuned to find out how Judge Caprio takes control of the situation, guiding both mother and daughter through a pivotal moment of truth. What happens next will make you rethink the role of respect, discipline, and the way we raise our children in the modern world. Judge Caprio watches the pair closely, his expression still calm, but his mind racing with thoughts of how to handle Madison's behavior. He's seen many cases, but this one feels different. The weight of entitlement coming from such a young girl is palpable. He knows that the courtroom isn't just about the case at hand. It's about shaping the behavior of those in front of him. And right now, it's clear that Madison needs a lesson that goes far beyond unpaid tickets. Miss Martinez, he addresses Sarah, bringing his focus back to her. His voice is calm, measured, as always, but there's a sharpness beneath it that everyone in the room can feel. You're here for 3 unpaid parking tickets, totaling $450, along with an expired vehicle registration. Can you explain your situation? Sarah takes a deep breath. Her eyes glance down for a moment, and when she looks back up, there's a vulnerability in her gaze, a weariness that speaks volumes about her struggles. She speaks slowly, her voice quiet but steady. Your Honor, I'm a registered nurse at Providence General Hospital. I pick up extra shifts wherever I can, and I also work weekends doing catering just to make ends meet. The tickets, they just piled up. I've been trying to keep everything else together. The registration expired because I couldn't afford to renew it at the same time. I had to pay for car repairs to pass inspection. She pauses, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, knuckles turning white from the tension. I'm not making excuses, she continues, her voice barely a whisper now. I know I should have handled this sooner. I'm just asking for some time to pay. I can afford $50 a month, if that's acceptable. Judge Caprio listens attentively, his gaze softening as he processes her words. He knows that this isn't just about parking tickets. It's about survival. Sarah's struggle isn't just financial, it's emotional. It's the kind of burden that no one should have to carry alone. But before he can offer a response, Madison interrupts again, her voice loud and jarring in the otherwise quiet room. Oh my God, Mom, can we just hurry up? This is taking forever. Just pay the stupid tickets so we can leave, she says, her tone dripping with impatience and entitlement. The gallery reacts immediately. A wave of murmurs ripples through the courtroom. Even the bailiff, who has seen countless cases, looks on with disapproval. Everyone feels the sting of Madison's disrespect. Sarah's face flushes crimson, her embarrassment now turning into a mixture of frustration and helplessness. She turns to her daughter, her voice sharp but laced with desperation. Madison, please be quiet for once, she pleads. But Madison doesn't listen. Instead, she rolls her eyes, a dismissive, exaggerated gesture that speaks volumes about how little she values the situation unfolding in front of her. The gallery watches, some shaking their heads, others casting judgmental glances. Judge Caprio's expression hardens just slightly. This behavior, this complete lack of respect, cannot be ignored. He turns back to Sarah. Miss Martinez, I understand your situation, he begins, his voice steady. But we're not just here to talk about parking tickets. Your daughter's behavior in this courtroom is concerning, and it's something I need to address before we continue. Sarah's face softens, her gaze flickering nervously toward her daughter, who is now glued to her phone, completely disengaged from the situation. I'm sorry, Your Honor, Sarah says, her voice barely above a whisper. This isn't how I raised her. I don't know where this attitude is coming from. Judge Caprio's sharp eyes never leave Madison. I'll tell you where it's coming from, he says, his voice unwavering. It's coming from the lack of boundaries, from the idea that you can say and do whatever you want without facing the consequences. Madison, for the first time, looks up from her phone, meeting the judge's eyes with an expression that is both defiant and confused. She scoffs, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I don't need to listen to this. You're just some old man telling me what to do, she mutters under her breath, though it's loud enough for the entire courtroom to hear. The room falls into an uncomfortable silence. Sarah looks like she's been slapped, her face registering the sting of Madison's words. Judge Caprio's gaze doesn't waver. He's been in this position too many times to be intimidated. He simply leans forward, his eyes narrowing. Miss Martinez, he says, his voice now filled with a quiet authority that commands attention. "You crossed the line here today. You've shown disrespect to your mother, to this court, and to the very idea of responsibility." Madison's smirk falters. The silence in the courtroom stretches on as Judge Caprio locks eyes with Madison. She stands there, arms crossed, her defiance now turning into something more fragile, vulnerable even. The look of arrogance she walked in with is beginning to fade, replaced by an unsettling unease. The judge's voice cuts through the stillness, its quiet authority compelling everyone in the room to listen closely. "You've shown disrespect to your mother in front of everyone here," he continues, his tone unyielding. But disrespect doesn't just harm the person it's aimed at. It destroys relationships, it creates distance, and it leaves scars that are hard to heal. Madison shifts uncomfortably under his gaze, but she doesn't break eye contact. She's too proud to back down, too stubborn to admit she's wrong. "This court is here to administer justice, Miss Martinez," Caprio says, his words slow, deliberate. But justice is not just about laws and fines. It's about teaching people, especially young people, that their actions have consequences, that their words have weight. For the first time, Madison's smirk falters. Her eyes dart down to the floor, avoiding the judge's piercing gaze. Her defiance, once so strong, now feels paper-thin. She's starting to realize the gravity of what's happening. This isn't just about parking tickets anymore. It's about something much deeper. "I'm not saying this to humiliate you, Madison," Judge Caprio continues, his voice softening just slightly. "But you need to understand that your behavior today, how you treated your mother, how you treated this court, matters. And you need to learn what real respect looks like." Madison opens her mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. Her usual sharp retort is swallowed by the weight of the moment. She knows deep down that the judge is right. Her actions have consequences, but admitting it feels like giving up everything she's held on to. The world she's built around herself, one where material wealth and status define her, feels suddenly fragile and illusory. Judge Caprio doesn't let the moment drag on too long. He understands the power of silence, but he knows when to move forward. He turns to Sarah, who's been standing quietly by her daughter's side, watching the interaction unfold. "Miss Martinez," he says gently, "I understand your struggle, and I know you're doing the best you can for your daughter, even if it doesn't always seem like it. But you also have a role to play in teaching her the value of respect. And sometimes that means allowing the consequences of her actions to fall squarely on her shoulders." Sarah's eyes flicker with understanding, a slight nod of agreement. She's been fighting this battle alone for so long, unsure of how to guide Madison when everything seems stacked against her. But now, with the judge's words, she can see a path forward. She can see that this is not about blame. It's about taking responsibility and learning from mistakes. "Your daughter needs to learn accountability," Judge Caprio continues, turning back to Madison. "And today, I'm going to show her what it looks like." Madison looks up, her expression a mixture of defiance and confusion. She doesn't understand fully, not yet, but she senses that something is about to change. "I'm reducing your mother's fines to $50, the judge announces, his voice clear. "She'll have 90 days to pay that amount in full. But you, Madison," he pauses, locking eyes with her again, "will be facing a consequence of your own. A consequence that will teach you more than any lecture could." A murmur ripples through the gallery, the tension in the air thick as people wait for the next move. Madison opens her mouth, her initial instinct to protest, but she doesn't. There's something in Judge Caprio's demeanor that tells her this isn't a battle she can win. "Not today. You'll be completing 40 hours of community service," Judge Caprio declares, his voice ringing with finality. "Starting this Saturday and continuing for the next 10 weeks. For hours each week. I'm sending you to Sunset Nursing Home, where you'll help take care of elderly patients who have no family. People who have worked their entire lives, and now, in their twilight years, they're alone." Madison's eyes widen in disbelief. "Community service? Are you serious?" she asks, her voice cracking with a mixture of anger and incredulity. Judge Caprio remains unfazed, his gaze unyielding. You'll do it every Saturday, Madison. It's time you learned what it means to give of yourself without expecting anything in return. The words hit Madison like a punch to the gut. She wants to scream, to lash out, but she knows it won't make a difference. The weight of the situation starts to settle in. She can feel the eyes of everyone in the courtroom on her, waiting, watching. It's impossible to ignore now. You're going to learn respect, Madison, Caprio continues, and the value of hard work. You've been given so much without understanding the cost. Now it's time to see the other side of that. And maybe, just maybe, you'll understand what your mother has been doing for you all these years. Madison's face hardens, but this time, there's a flicker of uncertainty behind her eyes. She's been forced to confront something she's been avoiding, something that her father's influence has kept her from seeing. The truth about what really matters in life. But this isn't the end for Madison. The community service is just the beginning of a journey that will change her, her relationship with her mother, and the way she views the world. Stay tuned to see how the next few weeks unfold, and whether Madison will finally learn the lessons Judge Caprio is trying to teach her. As the days pass, the weight of Judge Caprio's decision settles heavily on Madison's shoulders. The following Saturday, she reluctantly arrives at Sunset Nursing Home. The building is quiet, its aging walls echoing with the sounds of time itself. Madison, still in her designer clothes, enters with her arms crossed, her face marked by defiance. She's not sure what to expect, but she's already decided that she's not going to enjoy this. The coordinator, an older woman named Mrs. Sullivan, greets Madison with a warm, practiced smile. She's seen young people come and go, usually with the same attitude Madison carries now: resentment, reluctance, and an overwhelming sense of entitlement. But Mrs. Sullivan has learned not to let that affect her. She guides Madison through the halls, introducing her to the elderly residents who live there. Most of them have lived long, hard lives, filled with both hardship and joy. Some are cheerful, others quiet, but all of them are here now, in the twilight of their years, surrounded by the kind of peace that only comes from a life well lived. Madison's first few hours are a blur of menial tasks, helping set the dining tables, assisting the staff with small chores, and listening to Mrs. Sullivan explain the importance of compassion and care. But Madison isn't listening, not truly. Her mind is elsewhere, thinking about her phone, her friends, her life outside these walls. The luxury of her father's gifts feels distant now, and so does the world she once thought was all that mattered. As the weeks go by, Madison's attitude doesn't change much. She drags herself to Sunset Nursing Home each Saturday, begrudgingly completing her community service. But something begins to shift, slowly, almost imperceptibly. The residents, particularly Mrs. Chin, an 84-year-old woman with no family to visit her, begin to make an impact on Madison. Mrs. Chin, with her soft, wrinkled face and slow gait, never asks for much. But as the weeks pass, Madison notices something. Mrs. Chin has a warmth about her that others don't. A quiet wisdom that seems to radiate from every word she speaks, even when she's simply talking about her past. One Saturday, as Madison is assisting Mrs. Chin with her lunch, the elderly woman catches her off guard with a question. "Do you know what it's like to work hard for something, child?" Mrs. Chin asks, her voice gentle but firm. Madison, caught off guard, shakes her head. "I don't know what you mean." Mrs. Chin smiles, her eyes twinkling with a depth of understanding that makes Madison pause. "I worked 3 jobs, to put my children through college. I did it all, and I never expected anything back. But when I think of those days, I don't remember the struggles. I remember the pride. The pride of knowing I did my best for my family, even when things were tough." Madison feels a pang in her chest. She's heard stories like this before, but something about Mrs. Chin's words feels different. She's never had to work that hard for anything. All the things her father gave her, all the designer clothes and gadgets, never came with the weight of real effort. She starts to understand the concept of sacrifice, even if she's only beginning to scratch the surface. The next Saturday, Madison comes to the nursing home with a shift in her attitude. She still doesn't enjoy it. She'd rather be anywhere else. But something inside her has changed. As she sits with Mrs. Chin again, she asks a question that surprises even her. "How did you do it, Mrs. Chin? How did you keep going?" Mrs. Chin looks at her, her smile gentle. "Because I had to. There's no choice but to keep moving forward, to keep giving, even when life doesn't give you what you want. The work becomes the reward." Madison listens carefully, her mind starting to open to a world of possibilities she'd never considered. Maybe it's not about the things her father buys her. Maybe it's about the kind of person she wants to be. The next few weeks continue like this. Small changes, incremental growth. Madison starts spending more time with the residents, listening to their stories, helping them with small tasks, and even sharing a laugh with them now and then. Her heart softens. She begins to understand the meaning of responsibility, not just for herself, but for the people around her. She sees that respect isn't something that can be bought with money or things. It's earned through actions, through effort, and through love. By the end of her community service, Madison has transformed. She's still not perfect, but she's different. When she walks into the courtroom again, it's not the same Madison who once strutted in with an air of superiority. The cocky attitude has faded, replaced by a humility that only comes from experiencing the final Saturday of Madison's community service arrives. She walks into a Sunset nursing home, but today, something feels different. She no longer drags her feet. Her clothes are modest, more in line with the working-class residents she's come to know over the past weeks. The defiance in her posture is gone. Instead, there's a quiet confidence, the kind that comes from doing the hard work and owning up to one's mistakes. Mrs. Chin notices the change immediately. As they sit together in the common room, Mrs. Chin's eyes twinkle with recognition. "You're walking taller today, my dear," she says softly, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Madison smiles back, but it's different now, genuine. "Yeah, I guess I am," she replies. "I think I finally get it. Hard work doesn't just make you tired, it makes you strong." Mrs. Chin nods approvingly. "Yes, child. Strength comes from the inside, from knowing you've done your best, even when the world doesn't make it easy." As the day ends, Madison finishes her final tasks and prepares to leave the nursing home. She feels a strange mix of relief and gratitude. Relief that her community service is finally over, but gratitude for the lessons she's learned along the way. She's learned about sacrifice, humility, and the quiet strength of those who give without expecting anything in return. The following week, it's time for Madison to appear in Judge Caprio's courtroom once again. This time, she feels nervous, but not in the same way she did before. The fear of judgment is still there, but it's tempered by the hope that she's done enough to make things right. When her name is called, Madison steps forward with her mother by her side. Sarah's eyes are filled with pride, but there's also a softness to her expression, a sense of hope that maybe, just maybe, things are starting to heal between them. Judge Caprio looks up from his papers, his eyes scanning the pair before him. He's been watching them closely, and he's noticed the changes in Madison. The girl who once walked into his courtroom with arrogance and entitlement is now standing tall, her posture more aligned with responsibility and humility. It's clear to him that something significant has shifted. "Miss Martinez," he begins, his voice calm but firm, "I trust you've completed your community service." Madison nods, her voice steady as she responds, "Yes, Your Honor. I've completed 40 hours at Sunset Nursing Home, and I've learned a lot." Judge Caprio raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "Tell me what you've learned, Madison." For a moment, she hesitates. But then, with a deep breath, she looks up at the judge, her eyes clear and sincere. "I've learned that it's not about the stuff, about the clothes, the jewelry, or even the money. It's about the work, the hard work you put in, the sacrifices you make for others. I've learned that my mom, she's been doing everything for me, and I never really saw it before. I've been selfish. I didn't understand what she was going through. But now I get it." The courtroom is quiet. Sarah's eyes well up with tears as she listens to her daughter's words, the weight of years of silent struggle starting to lift. This is the apology she's been waiting for, but it's more than that. It's the beginning of a new chapter, Judge Caprio looks at Madison for a long moment, his expression softening. I'm glad to hear that, Madison. It takes courage to admit when we're wrong, especially when it involves the people we love most. He turns his attention to Sarah, who's been standing quietly, her hand resting on Madison's shoulder. Miss Martinez, you've been through a lot. Raising a child on your own, working 2 jobs, and trying to make ends meet. I'm proud of the way you've handled everything. Sarah nods, her voice trembling slightly as she speaks. Thank you, Your Honor. It hasn't been easy, but no, I've done my best. And I know Madison will be okay. I just want her to see what really matters. Judge Caprio gives a small nod of approval. It seems like you've both learned something valuable here today. I'm not just talking about the fines or the community service. I'm talking about respect for each other, for the hard work that goes into building a life, and for the sacrifices that we all make. He turns to Madison. You've made a lot of progress, young lady. And while you still have a long way to go, I see the person you're becoming. The one who understands the value of hard work, gratitude, and responsibility. Madison's face lights up with a soft smile, but she knows this isn't the end of her journey. It's just the beginning. She may not be perfect, but she's on the right path now. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair, his gaze shifting between mother and daughter. You've both done well. Your community service is complete, and your fines have been taken care of. But the most important thing is the lesson you've learned, and the one that I hope you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. He pauses for a moment, his voice gentle but powerful. The greatest wealth we can give our children isn't found in shopping bags or bank accounts. It's found in character, in compassion, and in the courage to be better than we were yesterday. With those words, the courtroom is filled with a sense of closure, but also a feeling of new beginnings. Madison and Sarah share a look of understanding, of hope, and of love that's been rekindled after years of strain. This story isn't just about one disrespectful child or a struggling mother. It's about all of us and the values we choose to pass on to the next generation. As Madison and Sarah leave the courtroom together, hand in hand, we're reminded that redemption isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, growing, and becoming better versions of ourselves every day.